What are some relationship black flags that indicate that the person is a criminal or pirate? I'll actually put in a serious reply in the sea of pirate jokes. Get it? I've dated 2 thieves. One petty, one professional. The petty one would often complain about not having money, but was constantly coming home with random items, usually electronics, on one unique occasion an ornate sword. These items would disappear, pawned off, and suddenly he was Daddy Warbucks for a few days. Then the cycle would repeat itself. He wasn't cautious, would boast loudly when he had cash. The pro was completely different. He was quiet, careful. Once we got locked out of the house and he silently pulled out his lockpicking set and went to work. He passed it off as a hobby, but the longer I dated him the more I became aware of other oddities. He was constantly aware of all points of ingress, would point of security measures and locks to me and explain how they worked. He had money to spend, but no apparent job. He opened a business with a large chunk of change that seemed to appear out of thin air. I later found out it came from a job. All these things led to me having conversations with them about their professions. The petty one told me he would stop and soon after got arrested. The pro had already quit when he opened his business and is doing well for himself. But we broke up shortly after the revelation. Apparently neither one stole your heart. If they refuse to poly, it's more of a guideline. Anyway, parley damn to the depths whatever maggot thought up poly. That would be the French. When you find their secret stash of hardtack and salt pork in a drawer, it's time to have a talk. Or limes. That's less suspicious. They're keeping them in a drawer because they clearly can't hold them all. That would be ridiculous. Trying to hold all the limes. That is. Not even a pirate would willingly store hardtack for consumption if there was anything else remotely edible available. It's like dwarf bread. You have it around not to eat, but to make sure you're motivated to find something, anything, else that isn't it to eat, and to feel better about eating those things, because at least it's not dwarf bread, hardtack. If they start talking about sailing to the free settlement of Nassau and stealing medicine from the Spanish and English, I only do that on Friday evenings. On Tuesdays I work for the Dutch. In that case there is a good chance your date is called Edward, because the others got shot or otherwise murdered. As much as I love that game, Nassau really was a pirate settlement. And pirates stole more useful things, like medicine, sugar, tobacco, and other supplies they could use or sell. But seriously, Thatch and Mary almost made me cry. If they want to do roleplay, with you as the cabin boy, now swab me poop deck air. Swab me poop deck with your tongue matey. Now let me walk your plank. Now, shiver my timber. I'm plundering your booty. I'm curious to know whether this thread would be better or worse with a serious tag. I'm thinking it would honestly be exactly the same. Just a lot more deleted. A lot more. I was wondering how it would go. I have to say that I am happy with the 95% pirate jokes and the 5% kinda serious ones. I'm kind of curious what you were actually asking though. Did you mean you wanted to know signs if someone pirated media? Or was the headline a joke to begin with? It's a reference to all the threads that ask about red flags in relationships, and I think there was a green flag one too, indicating a relationship will go well. They have just one name, like Madonna. But it's more of a thing than a name. EI. Scar. Fisticuffs. Silencer. Crusher. Nash. Ogre. Alternatively, the may be added as a prefix. They don't have a Netflix account when you ask to chill. I don't, because I pirate everything. Generally speaking, if they keep their cash in a duffel bag, that's the first warning sign. If the first date is a bank robbery, something also might be up. Bank robbery is definitely a team building exercise. You know the advice that you take your date to something scary like a horror movie or an amusement park. So, she gets scared and her hormones will go, oh my god, I need a strong man who is not afraid, and you're right there in front of her eyes just chilling, and her brain goes, oh yeah, there's that, and imprints you as viable mate. That advice also works with high speed chases. Yes. Itches love when guys drive as fast and recklessly as possible with them in the car. Swerve is only a few letters away from suave. If they tiptoe around in a black and white striped shirt, black mask, and a big bag with a dollar sign slung over their back, they said pirate, not the Hamburglar. Criminal and or pirate. The Hamburglar is an extremely dangerous criminal. If they can't hear you when you say SpongeBob SquarePants, I would say a black flag. If their ship has a black flag, they might be a pirate. Maybe they are just an anarchist sailor. Like Sea Shepherd? Avast. Me name is Captain Shepherd and this be me favorite store in the Caribbean. They may be an innocent bunch of the ISIS Navy though. Ask whether they go for beheadings or walk the plank. Having a pet parrot. Says ahoy when they achieve orgasm. Their idea of date night is attacking naval vessels with broadside cannons. Doesn't observe maritime laws. Has nice booty. Technically most of us have never observed maritime laws. I most certainly have. I've observed them. And broken them. And been chastised and or rewarded in each case. 'Tis legal if ye be a privateer. Some of us prefer letter of marque. Speak fair yourself, landlubber. When they don't pay for WinRAR after the trial period is up. Despicable. Wouldn't it be Winair? Winair. Extracting booty from archivalubbers since 1995. My ex used to stockpile citrus fruits. No scurvy here. Or they eat seal or whale skin during times when fruit is hard to find. Boiled pine needles master race. Boiled pine needles. Ha, I just looked it up and pine needles contain vitamin C. Pine needle tea sounds different. Wonder if it tastes any good? You may not realize that pine needle tea contains 4-5 times the vitamin C of fresh squeezed orange juice and is high in vitamin A. It is also an expectorant, thins mucus secretions, decongestant, and can be used as an antiseptic wash when cooled. So not only does it taste good, but it's good for you. That was from a Google search. But supposedly only drink 1-3 cups a day at most, with about 6 pine needles per cup. So not only does it taste good, but it's good for you. Nice try, pine needle industry. If they buy you stuff that's out of their price range frequently, is this a serious reply? Yes. Fair enough. Well, it also applies to pirates, so they're covered on both fronts. Port and starboard, you mean? Does she own a galleon? And won't say why? She likes big boats, and she cannot lie. You other rudders can't deny. But when a boat sails in with an itty bitty mast, and the captain shouts avast, you get sunk. When the person has moved houses a lot. When they have a bunch of people they don't talk to anymore. When they ask you to look after their house, car/computer for a while without explanation, but assures you profusely that nothing is going to happen to you. When they freak out when police stops them for a routine check. When people you don't know come up to you out of the blue, in public places, asking if you know the person, or have seen them, or if the person has said anything about X when you know nothing about X. When you go on a date and there's another, unknown person there who doesn't get introduced, doesn't introduce themselves and doesn't seem to be doing anything there other than make themselves scarce at your arrival. I've really dodged a bullet. Dude, don't tell me that's all just one person that flew the red black flags. Cause that's messed up. Glad you finally figured it out. Every eye patch brings the chance up by 50%. An obsession with loot or owning of a cop radio is also a bad sign. 2 eye patches equals 100% chance of piracy. It gets even hairier from 3 up. Eye patches promote hair growth. That explains Blackbeard. Be right back applying eye patches to my receding hairline. Instructions unclear. Patch stuck to radio. Every time software asks to update the click no. That's not always true. I think the older versions of uTorrent work better, so I never update it when it asks. Not updating your piracy software would also seem to qualify you under this rule. uTorrent has legitimate uses. When you move zine, and the next week your ISP tells you to stop illegally downloading copyrighted files. If he speaks in a Somalian accent, owns an AK-47 and a small boat, and tells you that he is the captain now, he may be a pirate. When your girlfriend tags your computer with viruses, because she wanted to install Kazaa to pirate music, and then has the audacity to itch because her Diablo Sava game was lost when you had to reinstall Windows. When you are sharing an intimate moment and she mentions she got arrested for Grand Theft Auto when she was 16. When you are just starting to like what was originally expected to be a one night stand and she mentioned she used to steal cars as a teenager. Yep, I've had to. When that psycho starts dragging you into activities you'd rather not partake in. Why is it that the computer being plagued with viruses is the one that irritates me the most? It's because you have the gift of tech. When they tell you to look at them, because they are the captain now. Be careful out there. You would think a pirate loves a good ol' R, but don't be mistaken. A true pirate's love will always be the sea. No, it's P, without it they become irate. If they're keeping secrets from you. I had an ex that wouldn't tell me anything about her life. Any details, any stories, nothing. She would just tell me she went out with some friends and that was it. I started getting really suspicious when I noticed that she seemed to divert most of the questions I was asking her as well. One day I decided to install a keylogger onto her computer cause we'd been together for almost a year now. I don't know how we made it that far, and I was getting really suspicious. Turns out that she was messaging this one guy named Richard back and forth on Facebook. I won't go into detail, but some of the stuff she said made my stomach literally drop. I couldn't believe it and I felt so sick and guilty. I hated myself for not seeing it sooner and I couldn't believe that she would go behind my back and do such a thing. I just had a gut feeling. And thinking back to what she said to him, it was very clear what she was doing, but I just didn't want to accept it. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't ignore one of the messages she sent him. It was just so freaking obvious. She told this guy, "I am the captain now." It was utterly soul-wrenching for me. I hope none of you guys have to deal with this.